Hello, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to our live feed update for October 5th. I'm your host, Turn Armstrong, and with me today is Jacob. How you doing, Jacob?
I'm doing awesome. I'm excited to chop up the feeds with you. It was a slower day, but I feel like that's expected at this point in the game. But it was still some good conversations that were had. So I'm excited to chop it up with you.
Yes, all right. Well, we are here to update you on everything that happened yesterday on the Big Brother 22 live feeds. It was day 61 in the house, and it was a slower day. Not a lot that went down. We are just kind of waiting for the veto ceremony, which will probably take place today, and then we'll have a couple more days to sort of like make sure this is the decision that everyone wants.
I feel like it is. But hey,
It's what everyone wants right now. I
now
still feel like there's a chance this goes the other way, but as of right now, things are even more locked in than they were before. That Tyler is going home, but there are some conversations here that happen, especially one between Memphis and Enzo. That if the right pieces of that conversation come back to Cody, things could change a little bit, but
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see. We started the day with Cody and Nicole. Nicole talking about how much of a liar Tyler is. What a snake this guy.
Yeah, and she called him a snake, and then she referenced herself as like a garden snake. And I was like, no way. Tyler, I would agree, has some snake-like tendencies. But coming from, I feel like the snake expert, and Nicole, I feel like that was just an off-putting comment. But talking about Nicole is a snake, I did some research, Taryn, about what snake that I think that Nicole is.
Ooh.
So I typed in on the Google, and I was like, a snake that makes some moves, but it's also very scary in some aspects. And so I came across the black mamba.
Okay.
And I have a brief description. So it said that the black mamba, they are shy and will almost always seek to escape when confronted. I was like, Nicole, ding.
Mm-hmm.
And however, when cornered, these snakes will raise their heads, sometimes with a third of their body, spread their neck fabs, and hiss. So it never said attack. It just said hiss. And so I said, black mamba, Nicole. Oh, interchangeable at this point.
There you go.
We can go with it.
Do we have the type of snake that Tyler is?
So I didn't look for a snake for Tyler. I should have, but I would not put him as a garden snake, as Nicole said. I would say a python, but I don't know if that's giving him too much credit.
Yeah, I feel like it's got to be a skittish snake, I think.
Yeah.
Similar to because Tyler he's got a very vicious bite. Like, he's very dangerous.
But he warms you in and brings you in, and then
Yeah. But then if you make fun of the snake, it runs away, right?
yes.
So that's that's the thing. All right.
We need a snake name for Tyler.
So Cody's talking to Nicole. Cody lets Nicole know that Enzo, so follow me here. He says that Cody tells Nicole that he told Enzo that he told Nicole that Tyler told Enzo about the committee. And he also tells her that Enzo also wondered, like, oh, did you tell her about the wise guys? And Cody was like, no. And he lied about that. He lied about that to Enzo. So, he let Nicole know everything that he said to Enzo in that conversation. He also tells Nicole that he had a final three with Tyler and Enzo, but it was never a big deal. They never really talked about it in that much. So it is a thing that happened. This is something that interesting that Cody has been doing all season long, which is that he tells Enzo and Nicole quote unquote everything, but he leaves like tiny details out that he saves for one of the other. But he keeps little things from both of them, and tells little things to both of them. And it's like, I think it would be very difficult to determine, but if Enzo and Nicole compared notes to determine like which one Cody is more loyal to at this point, because he tells both of them so much, but then also omits tiny things. And I think it's interesting.
Yeah, and I can see a reasoning for why. And also Enzo, as you said previously, Enzo is not a fact checker. And so I feel like this kind of helps him in that way of he's not going to go back to verify the information that he just heard. He's going to take it at face value, as we saw with Davon or as we saw with Bailey back then. But yeah, so he's not a fact checker, and Nicole kind of is, so that kind of worries me. But Nicole and Enzo don't have that relationship, I feel like, where they would kind of just sift through information like that. So I can see how it could potentially work.
Yeah, and I feel like another thing is it really helps like inoculate both of he's having these conversations. He could get caught, running information, but by telling Nicole basically everything he's told Enzo and telling Enzo basically everything he's told Nicole, if that ever came out in any way, he's already told them those things, if that makes sense. It's been pretty effective. I mean, he did it between Nicole and Danny. He's now doing it between Nicole and Enzo, and he's sort of just keeping this sort of middle ground, not really, because what usually happens is that somebody has a number one that they tell everything to, and then they have other people who might think they're their number one. And this is what Enzo does, right? For the most part, like Enzo, his number one is Cody. He tells Cody pretty much everything. And then everyone else, he's a vault. He only pretends to tell them things. That's usually how people work in the game. But Cody like has genuinely two number ones, but neither of them get to know everything.
Yeah, and I feel like they each think they're Cody's number ones. And so it kind of works out where, oh, he's not telling anyone else's information. He's just telling me. So it works out. So, yeah.
Yeah. So Christmas also talks to the cameras again. She's just confirming to us again that she's planning on nominating Nicole and Cody if she wins the HOH.
I was so mad because Christmas didn't have anyone else to talk to, so she had to talk to us. And I was like, because Christmas is always the one to like talk extremely long, give long-winded stories, long-winded tales. So once she started talking to us, I was like, my head already went to the palm of my hands. But it was just basically her plans of what she was going to do for that next week. So I feel like it's what everyone is kind of thinking, but Christmas is kind of not with everyone in a lot of people's minds. And so, yeah. But good conversation with Christmas.
Yeah, she's hoping that that Enzo and Memphis will throw the HOH to her, which sounds kind of silly at first listen, perhaps, but I actually think they both might do that. Not on purpose. I was
thinking the exact same thing. Because when Christmas first said it, I got so agitated. And I was like, well, this isn't Big Brother 19, ma'am. You're not gonna have, you have a boot on your leg, and you're not gonna have people throw a running competition to you. But at the same point, I think it could definitely work if they do inherently do that. Because then who are Christmas targets? Cody and Nicole. And so I could see it working, but when she said it, it kind of irked my spirit a little bit.
Yeah. So this is the conversation between Memphis and Enzo that does not really fully get resolved in the day. As far as we know, the feeds were down a decent chunk. But as far as I know, Enzo has not run this conversation, the one I'm about to talk about, back to Cody yet. But I imagine he might still, and I'm still not sure how Cody will respond. So Memphis talks to Enzo about how important it is that Nicole goes home next week, because then they make it to the Final Four with the Wise Guys, and it doesn't even matter. And so he thinks the best way to evict Nicole is to have Cody on the block next to Nicole. Now, this is bad news for Cody because he doesn't actually want Nicole gone. He wants Christmas gone. And he was hoping that Christmas would be on the block next to Nicole if Memphis won the HOH. Now, Memphis does say that his plan still would be to nominate Nicole and Christmas, but then if Christmas didn't win the veto, he'd be in a tough position because he doesn't know how he'd be able to convince Cody not to evict Christmas. And so he's implying a lot that he wants Christmas off the block. He's hoping she wins the veto, takes herself off the block, and then he's forced to put up Cody. But with even just that in mind, it really heavily hints toward this idea that if Memphis did win the HOH, he would think it through and just go, you know what? Sorry, Cody, I'm gonna have to put you on the block next to Nicole. You don't have to vote her out, man. And that might happen, but even if it doesn't, it also very heavily implies something else that Memphis says, which is best case scenario, Christmas wins the HOH and she does it for us and she puts up Cody and Nicole. That would be fantastic. Memphis definitely looking to throw an HOH to Christmas if possible, even maybe throw a veto to Christmas if he's the HOH or something along those lines, if possible, to keep Christmas off the block. It's very clear that his motivation is to keep Christmas next week, to keep her off the block if possible, and that is bad news for Cody, Nicole, and Enzo. Take it or leave it at that point, but bad for Cody and Nicole, and they're the ones deciding the outcome of this particular vote.
Yeah, and so this conversation between Memphis and Enzo, it made me feel better about Christmas talking to the cameras and saying that, I wonder if they will throw this competition to me. Maybe she isn't just like being super conceited or anything like that. Maybe she does see that this could be potentially Memphis and Enzo's best move to just give me HOH. And I can honestly see it being. And I know that in this conversation, Enzo was also bringing up the fact of that, obviously Cody and Nicole are working together, but that he was kind of going to preface to Cody like, hey, I did you a favor this week. We need to do us a favor this week of I made you happy, last week, you need to kind of make us happy this week. And so Nicole has to go. And so I think Christmas being the HOH definitely works for Memphis. And I definitely can see it working for Enzo as well. But I think if Cody has so many alliance members, and that I do not see him sticking his neck out so far for Nicole at this point in the game. Yeah.
So here's the thing, and I keep talking about this decision, Tyler or Christmas. I feel like it's getting worse and worse to keep Christmas as the week goes on. Enzo really doesn't seem like he wants to win this Final Five HOH. Memphis is now talking about hoping that Christmas wins this Final Five HOH. If the HOH is some kind of endurance, which I kind of expect it might be. I mean, I was expecting possibly endurance last week. I really expect it this week because what else will they show on the Monday? It's weird to say that, the Monday episode, if it's not endurance. They've only had one real endurance competition this season. It really feels to me like it will be endurance, and if it is endurance, it's either going to be slip and slide or probably like the hanging one. But either way, it's very easy to throw an endurance competition. The hanging one actually a little bit less so, because Enzo can't throw that straight to Christmas. He probably would hang in there until Christmas dropped if possible, but I think Christmas would probably have a better shot at beating Enzo in that competition outright anyway. If it's slip and slide and Enzo is like, I don't necessarily love the idea of winning, and Memphis with his bad back is like, I would love for Christmas to win, it's basically Christmas versus Nicole in the slip and slide. That's just straight up a Christmas win at that point, unless Enzo is able to, unless Enzo is able to pull something out and really turn it on and beat Christmas, even though he doesn't really want the HOH. And it's just not, that's not a good scenario for Cody, because now it's Cody and Nicole on the block. If Nicole wins the veto, and she came in second place this week for the veto, she knows these days like the back of her hand. So if it's a question comp, she's gonna do well. If she wins the veto, Cody's gone. That's it. Even if she doesn't win the veto, noms stay the same. There's a chance that Memphis decides, why am I keeping Cody over Nicole? And he's gone. And even if that doesn't happen, he loses Nicole, and now he's stuck in the final four with Christmas, who will evict him if she wins the final four veto. And then he needs to get rid of Christmas at the final four, and now he's stuck with Memphis and Enzo in the final three, where Memphis takes Enzo and not Cody. But I don't know if he knows that. I mean, he should know that at this point. But I'm feeling like things are starting to like get out of Cody's hands at this point if he keeps Christmas around. And that's why I'm wondering if Enzo brings this information back to Cody, will that change his mind? Will he start to reconsider and think about potentially keeping Tyler this week? I don't know, because the train is already running. And when you think about like, now I've got to like talk to Memphis about how Tyler's staying, and I've got to convince Cole and Enzo to do this. And Enzo might not even bring this information back. He seems to not have brought it back yet. So Enzo might want this. He might like this status quo. He might be keeping this information to himself. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think, I mean, Enzo and Tyler, obviously, I mean, it's a parent test. I don't know if it's the parent to everyone in the house, but they have a working relationship going on. Enzo kind of has a working relationship with a lot of people going on, but I kind of think him and Tyler's connection is more real in the game sense. And so I can definitely see like if he wants Tyler to stay, but the train is already moving, but if he really wants to fight for Tyler to stay at this point, and for Christmas to leave, I feel like he would bring it back. And I feel like Cody would, in fact, turn it around. But I don't know if Nicole would buy into the fact of wanting Tyler evicted over Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Cody is able to convince Nicole, and I think Nicole also understands the logic as well. That like, especially if Cody brings to Nicole, Memphis wants to keep Christmas off the block next week, and he wants you gone, and he wants me up next to you. Then it's like, okay, maybe we do need to keep Tyler, I think. But we'll see. Like I said, it might not change anything. It might not even come back to Cody. But if I'm Cody in this game and I hear this, I have to start thinking about these doomsday scenarios because it's getting real risky. But we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Cody talks to Nicole. They complain about Christmas. Cody says, we could still send her home this week, but they're not going to as of right now. He says, ideally, Nicole, you need to win this HOH. We need to get rid of Christmas next week. And Nicole says, I mean, we could also get rid of Memphis. Like, I guess between Memphis and Christmas, I could see either one going. And it's kind of clear that she sees Memphis as a bigger threat than Christmas. And this is another reason for me why it makes more sense to get rid of Christmas now, because both Enzo and Nicole now have expressed interest in getting rid of Memphis next week over Christmas, which is not good for Cody because, again, then he has to deal with Christmas in the final four where she votes to evict him if she wins that veto. So get rid of Christmas now, and now everyone has to deal with getting rid of Tyler next week over Memphis, and that's the ideal scenario for Cody. So I know I'm going on and on about this point, but it is the point of the week, and I feel like there are a lot of different aspects of the decision, and I feel like I keep finding reasons that it makes more sense for Cody for Tyler to stay.
I also, in this conversation, I also want to point out that the fact that Cody and Nicole were oftentimes bringing up the fact of Christmas comfortability. And it irritated me so much because I'm thinking, who gave her this comfortability? You all did. You made her feel so comfortable in this game of where she doesn't even have to feel like she needs to ask Nicole for a vote. And so that really like ticked me off. And I definitely get what you mean. And we're like, Christmas, it would be very beneficial for Christmas to leave this week. And just in case they want Memphis going next week, because Christmas, she will definitely take out Cody in the final four if they get to that point. And so it makes sense. But my key thing, I was just going back. I was like, oh, she's so comfortable in this game. She hasn't asked me for a vote. what have y'all gave her to like believe that she is in any danger when she's up against a huge threat like Tyler? And so kind of, I was just baffled about that moment.
Yeah. Well, like the thing is that, you know, because she feels so comfortable, the what they're saying is that she feels so comfortable because she's got Enzo and Memphis locked in. She thinks she does, that she's got the wise guys, and it's just it's annoying them, because this has been how Christmas has acted like all season long, where like she feels like she's a mastermind. They're like, Christmas, you're not doing anything. Stop acting like you are the one running the game. This is not Big Brother 19.
This week also reminded me so we saw at the triple eviction, Danielle was the last one. Danny was the last one to be evicted. And if we remember, if we go back to BB13 in the double eviction, Danny was also the first one to be evicted. And her allies won HOH, and she told them a plan of what to do, and they did the plan in BB13 with getting Jeff out the second eviction. And this time Cody won, and then getting like Christmas out. Well, that's the quote unquote plan. Christmas or Tyler, because Danny threw out that they have a final 2 deal and things like that. And so I just love the comparison and the mirror effect of BB13 with Danny, and you know, when the week that she left, and then BB22 with Danny and the week that she left, and her kind of plan coming into fruition.
Yeah, then they should be listening to her more. She should be taking Christmas out first.
Definitely.
So Tyler talks to Enzo. He really feels like he's a goner in this game. But they talk through final 2 scenarios, and Tyler tells Enzo, I think you could beat Christmas in Memphis. I don't know if you can beat Nicole or Cody. I think Cody beats everyone in the final 2. Nicole, she's got a good chance against you. So that's Tyler's advice to Enzo. And Enzo also, they both also talk about how winning the final 5 HOH, not great, because then you can't play in the final 4 HOH. So Enzo has even more incentive to not win this final 5 HOH, especially because who's he protecting? Nicole? Cody? Like, everyone but Christmas will take him to the final 2. I guess except Christmas and Nicole. If Nicole goes at final 5, that's no sweat off. That's no skin off of Enzo's back. Why is he gonna give up an opportunity to be safe at final 4 to protect Nicole? Worst case, he ends up losing Cody, which is honestly not that bad for Enzo. But I don't know if Enzo sees it that way, but like, you know, Enzo really shouldn't win the next HOH.
He really shouldn't. He really shouldn't. And this conversation of going to like see who can I beat at the end, I feel like Cody, as they said, has the best chance of winning. At this point, I feel like he's definitely raised his resume to a winning resume. But I feel like the other people, a winning resume to the people in the game. For us, we're kind of thinking, for the people watching, like, can you please make a big move? Can you please do this and that? I feel like Cody has made the littlest of the biggest moves when it comes to getting his targets out and things like that. And so I do think that Cody will win, say he does make it to the end. I also think, and I know we say a lot about Nicole, and we can say a lot, and we do say a lot about Nicole. I feel like something Nicole really does super well is she lowers her threat level, which I feel like we have seen time and time again. And so I think if Nicole makes it to the end, it will be very hard for her to win, but I can see an avenue for her to win. I know she has like crossed personal lines with like the Davon. I don't know how much Davon has influence. I want to say she has more influence with David and Kevin in the jury. And so I wouldn't sleep on Nicole going to final 2 and possibly winning.
Yeah, Nicole versus Enzo in the final 2 is interesting to me. I think it largely depends on where Davon and Ian stand on Nicole. Like, is Ian in the jury house like, guys, though, Nicole played really well. Like, we have to give her that. And is Davon in the jury house like, I mean, she did get me. She lied to me and I fell for it. Like, I gotta give her that. And Danny coming into the jury house, like, as with Nicole being pretty much the only one that didn't backstab her, is she gonna be like, yeah, Nicole has been playing super hard. She's been doing super well. Like, we could see a jury house right now that is potentially pro Nicole. Again, and I mentioned this before with Enzo, that Danny going to the jury first from the committee crew is bad for Enzo because she has spoken in a way that is not good about Enzo, that she doesn't feel like Enzo's done much in the game. And if she brings that to the jury house, she's the best source of information on how the people within this committee power structure have played. And she says, yeah, Enzo hasn't really done anything. Nicole has been playing great. That could be impactful. It could, especially because Devon at this moment still was like pro Danny, and she might respect Danny's opinion. So I do think Nicole stands a halfway decent chance of beating Enzo in the final two, especially also considering Enzo makes a move to keep Nicole in the triple eviction. He votes to keep Nicole over David, which looks good. It looks better on Nicole than it does on Enzo, because it was an opportunity for Enzo to take her out, to turn things in a different direction. So I think Tyler's right here. I think that Enzo has the best chance of beating Memphis and Christmas first, obviously, and then I do think Nicole has a chance of beating him, and I think that Cody absolutely could beat him. So this is something that Enzo should take to heart, and it's one of the reasons why like I said, I don't think he needs to win HOH next week, because if he doesn't, then we're probably going to see Nicole or Cody go home, and that's not bad for Enzo at this point. He just needs Christmas out, really.
Yeah, and I this is taking me back to the first conversation that we had on here about calling when I brought up the comparison of Nicole and her snake name of the Black Mamba. I'm like, did we force Kobe Bryant's name, calling him, we called him the Black Mamba, and now we're calling Nicole. I called Nicole the Black Mamba. So hopefully, it's something positive that can come out of it.
Actually, I just said he needs Christmas out. That's wrong. He doesn't need Christmas out after that. Throw HOH next week. Nicole goes home. Then take Memphis out. Final three with Cody and Christmas. That's where Enzo wants to be.
1,000%. 1,000%.
All right. So,
are you on the same wave with thinking that Cody wins if he's in final two?
I don't think it's a given. I don't. I don't think it's ever a given. I think that he will have a strong case. As of right now, I think competition wins tend to be huge. And as of right now, he has 6 competition wins. The closest person, I believe, is Memphis with 4, something along those lines. And if he's able to make it to the end, if he picks up even just 1 or 2 more comp wins to get to the end, which he'll probably need to if he's going to sit there, then he's got 7, 8 competition wins. That's close to the record for single season competition wins. If he manages 9 or 10, then he's tying or breaking the record, and everyone else will be down at 3 and 4. I think competitions alone, I think a lot of the jury would just be like, hand it off to the guy like this.
Yeah,
you can't beat him.
Yeah.
And on top of that, he's run the game. And for as much as, some people might be like, oh, well, he wasn't like super nice in this particular moment. Like, compare Cody to like a Paul or even like, I mean, he's, compared to a lot of like, quote unquote masterminds that have run the game, he's played it pretty clean. He's played it pretty like, like he's not been a jerk to people that so
Kevin may have some bitterness towards him, but
yeah, his worst moment was a slightly heated conversation that in most seasons would barely even pass for an update worthy conversation, because it's so not an argument, completely. And that they both apologized for afterward. And that he was like, I was so in the if that's his worst bit of jury management, then I feel like there's probably not a lot there, but you never know.
Yeah, you never know. And so I think Cody has a lot going for him if he makes it up to that point. And so we'll see.
We will see. Anything else you wanted to bring up, Jacob?
I want to talk about this funny moment that happened towards the end of the night with Enzo and Tyler when they were in the room. And Enzo, something that I'm super excited about, Enzo's YouTube channel. I'm super excited about this, and he's going to be traveling, answering fan questions. Hopefully, he gets at 100K by the end he gets out of Big Brother House on his Instagram. So I'm excited for the Meow Meow to take on YouTube.
That's it, yo. That's what I'm trying to say, yo. That's it.
I'm excited for
it. What's up? What's up, my fans? What's up, subscribers? What's up, yo?
Hey, he's gonna be like, hey, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Let me know how you feel, what you digging with the Meow Meow. You know, he's gonna get branded by Meow Meow Cat Food probably. So we'll see.
That's it, yo. That's it.
That's all he wants. That's all he wants. But I think I like how people are looking to next week, and hopefully this week isn't already dead in the water with just a blatant Tyler eviction, because I think Christmas going could enhance a lot of people's game. And I would also like to see Tyler still in the game and to see what fight he has left to play. And so, yeah, I'm excited for hopefully after we get Vito, we can hear some conversations going in the opposite direction with Tyler staying, because if I have a preference for TV's sake and for the game of Big Brother, I would like Tyler to stay over Christmas, but I would also get why people in the house would want Tyler gone before Christmas in that aspect. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're still at like very likely that Tyler goes probably, yesterday I think I said like 75%. It's probably like, I would say it's 90% without this Memphis Enzo conversation, probably closer to like 85% with that there as a ticking time bomb that could change things. So that's what I would be watching out for today, or for the rest of the week, but probably today. If Enzo's going to talk about it, it'll probably be today. If you're looking for a potential vote flip, watch out for Enzo talking to Cody about this conversation with Memphis to see if it impacts Memphis or impacts Cody's thoughts at all about who should go, and whether or not Enzo even says any of this to Cody. So that's what to watch out for. If that doesn't happen at all, or if it happens and it doesn't change things, then I think lock it in. It's probably Tyler for sure at that point. So
it's so hard for the BB22 community to remain hopeful, but I think it's a lot of good things that could possibly happen. So just remain hopeful out there and try to scrunch up some effort of longevity in this season. So it's coming to an end. We only have 2 weeks, I think, like 2 or 3 weeks left.
Yeah, like three weeks.
Yeah, and so hopefully we get some spiciness to add into our lives in this last couple of weeks for Big Brother 22.
Yeah, well, I will be back tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern to update you on everything that happens today on the Big Brother 22 live feeds. We will also be live tonight to recap the late, I believe, very late episode of Big Brother that will, I believe, air after the football game that starts at like 7 or something.
Yeah, I think so.
And football games are generally like 3 hours at least. So it's going to be
so
very
weird
late.
to have Big Brother on a Monday night too. It's so weird.
Yeah, they switched it to Monday, and then the very first Monday, it's massively delayed.
Yeah, it's super weird, but hey, I'm gonna take it. If they're gonna give it to us, I'm just gonna take it. So, what can I ask for at this point?
But there will be a recap after as far as I'm aware, there will be a recap after the episode, and then I'll be back tomorrow, and we'll have the roundtable tomorrow night for the Stock Watch. So make sure you tune in for that as well. You can find me on Twitter at Armstrong Taryn, or on Twitch, twitch.tv/Taryn Armstrong. Jacob, where can people find you?
Just Jacob J_Jones on Twitter, and yeah, I'm gonna have to call y'all recap the After Dark because it's probably gonna be like so late the After Dark recap. But yeah, Jacob J_Jones.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. I'll see you next time.